So we are officially starting. I just want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. We have been foreseeing what this meeting would look like for some time, and we're really excited. There's no way to predict how many people would turn out. So we're very, very happy that you are here. And when I use we, who is we, right? There is a team. So first, let me introduce the City of Palm Desert, the General Manager, Lori and Alain. Thank you. Lori Alain. We also have from the city, David, who's been at the forefront of this. So David. And a very, very supportive team who is all here either as a facilitator or has been helping. Just excited about having a conversation with you about the changes to the electoral process that are coming to Palm Desert. So again, the City of Palm Desert, thank you. And the City of Palm Desert has also engaged the support. Thank you. David is the Public Information Officer. He's with the City of Palm Desert, and he's right there. And I will introduce myself. I'm traditionally, I introduce everybody else first, and then myself. Culturally, I think it's a thing. So the City of Palm Desert has also engaged the support of Tri-Pepe Smith. And we have Ryder in the back, and we have Bryn. And they are supporting with communications, graphic design, outreach, and they do many other things. But thank you for being here. And the Alianza team. So Alianza is a local nonprofit organization. And what we do is we encourage communication between public agencies and residents in a very different way as you're seeing today, right? Like how many of you have attended a meeting, especially on an issue that is dear to our hearts, right? Whatever position we might have. And we hear the yay-sayers, we hear the naysayers, and there's really no room for a conversation, and then we all walk out frustrated. And that's not the intent that brings any of you here. That's not the intent that cities have, that agencies have. So at Alianza, it's part of our mission to try to foster these communications. One of the ways in which we do it is by through facilitation. So my team is here, Sahara Wasano, Victor Gonzalez, and Barrett Newkirk. We're all with Alianza, and we're again, supporting the city in this effort through facilitation, engagement, meeting design. We're very happy to be here. So finally, who I am. My name is Silvia Paz. I am the executive director and founder of Alianza Coachella Valley. And the process that we're following here is a process that I've used in various points in my career. And through this approach, we've been able to achieve many changes, right? Like having the first clinic built in the community of Mecca years ago, like having common spaces designed and created at Harvard University, and like having the disadvantaged infrastructure district created within the Coachella Valley Water District. So this is why we are committed to this approach. I think that through conversation, we can emerge more refreshed and see things from a different perspective. So again, I'm happy to be with you on this journey. So we're gonna move now to the purpose of the meeting today. And we did that, introductions. So it's very important to understand the purpose of today's meeting. What is this meeting about, right? And this meeting is to inform the community about the city's new election process, and it has two parts: to learn from community members what's important for you as the city undergoes this change, right? So it's very, again, important to understand what this meeting is about and what this meeting is not about. This meeting is not a debate, right? This meeting is really to have a conversation and to learn what's important for you, because these changes are coming to Palm Desert and we can do them together. To meet our purpose, we have established 3 goals. 1, to increase the understanding of the changes in Palm Desert's elections, right? Some of you might have been following this all along, and your level of understanding might be up here. Some of you, maybe you started hearing about it recently, so today is an opportunity to create that baseline understanding for all of us, because today is not going to be the first meeting, and you will hear from Lori in her presentation more about the process that the city is going to be taking. So that takes us to number 2. We're going to identify the opportunities for engagement. And goal number 3 is, again, to identify what is important for the community as the city undergoes these changes. Okay. Now, to meet our goals, we have community agreements. In other meetings, you might have heard them as rules. We like to believe that we can have agreements that we can all follow. So our agreements is to listen with curiosity. The first, to listen with curiosity and speak from a space of curiosity. I'm going to demonstrate what that might mean, okay? So you're going to have to tell me, what am I holding in my hand right now? A microphone. Now, look at what I'm holding in my hand from a perspective of curiosity and tell me, what am I holding in my hand right now? Something to talk into. So what am I using it? So something to communicate with. What else could you tell me? What else could you tell me? It's wireless, it has a weight, it has a color, it has a function, right? So our first response, and we're trained like this, it's the microphone. And you're right. But we could also see it from different perspectives and be able to see more. So that's the invitation in the first 2 agreements, to listen with curiosity and speak from curiosity. If you represent the city, your job is to listen to learn, right? And we have a parking lot. So we understand that there might be many questions that you might have that we cannot get to at this point, that the meeting's purpose and goals are not designed to address, right? But, thank you. And we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Trust me, it's a different process, so I appreciate your patience. So the parking lot is going to serve for you for any questions that you may have, to write them on a Post-it, and then you can put them on a parking lot and someone will get to it. So those are, again, our community agreements. Can we all agree that throughout this meeting we can follow those agreements? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we've been here for almost half an hour, and we're almost half through the presentation. So we've done number 1, number 2, and number 3, and now I'm going to introduce Lori to talk about the changes that are coming to Palm Desert.
Thank you. It's seldom that I get applause before I've even said anything. How refreshing. It's my privilege to be city manager for the city of Palm Desert, and I'm here to start by explaining a little bit about how we got to where we are and what the process is going forward in order to get us to the point where Palm Desert employs district voting rather than at-large voting. Just quick terminology, 2 things. One is district voting is where you have a city or community divided up into specific districts, and each district votes for one or more representatives to their central body. At-large voting is what we currently have and what is frequently seen throughout California, but is disappearing, and that is where everybody gets to vote for all the candidates and all the seats that are held on the elected body. So, Clay, if you can advance me one there. Let me tell you a little bit about how we got here. In 2001, California enacted what's called the California Voter Rights Act. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to call it the CVRA. Otherwise, we'll be here until tomorrow every time I have to say California Voter Rights Act. It was implemented in 2001, and the purpose of it was to provide a voice to underrepresented, protected classes and minorities. It was to make sure that they had equal opportunity to elect people that they thought would represent them best, and to be able to have a voice in elections that they might not otherwise have, to be able to influence the outcome. In June of last year, 2019, we had a lawsuit filed against us. It was filed by 2 community members and who we had not heard from in the past and hadn't been engaged in City Hall, and we really didn't understand what they were trying to accomplish. So when they filed suit, we began negotiations and talking with them to determine what really is wrong with what we're doing now. How do you not feel represented? What can we do to change that? What would you like to see the outcome of this be? And they listened to us as well to see what we were trying to accomplish. The city was trying to accomplish 2 things in particular. One was we wanted to maintain our tradition of community unity and integrity. Throughout Palm Desert's 47-year history now, the community has worked as a whole, and they've worked pretty respectfully of one another and their interests towards common goals. Our greatest fear was that if we immediately institute district voting and divide ourselves up into 5 districts because we have 5 council members, we'll have individual portions of Palm Desert fighting against one another to get the same money, to get the same resources, to be able to do the projects they want to do in their areas. And we thought we've been so well served by working together, we don't want to lose that. So that was number 1, what we wanted to accomplish. Number 2 was we wanted fairness and representation. It's really important to us to know that everybody is represented. They feel and they understand and they believe that they're represented. And if they're not, that they have the opportunity to elect somebody to represent them who they believe does represent their interests as well. So it was important for us to be fair. As an aside, I will tell you one question that I didn't ever hear, one concern I never heard from any of our elected officials, and I still haven't to this day, is, well, what will that do for my chances for re-election? Not a single one of them has wanted to know, how can the districts be divided so that I can get re-elected? And that really, I'm a cynic at heart, so having our 5 council members never even look to themselves in this discussion was really refreshing, and I think it reflects the values of Palm Desert as a community working together. We were able to reach then terms for a settlement agreement with the plaintiffs who had filed suit, and we announced that coming out of our or at a council meeting in December. So we just wrapped that up, and we're now embarking on the next part of how to make the settlement work and the CVRA work and to represent the best interests of Palm Desert. Clay, can you? All right, so what we came up with is completely different from what other cities have done. We have proposed and decided upon trying to enact a 2-district solution. Rather than dividing the city up into 5, which is what almost all the cities across California have done, we've recognized that Palm Desert is different. We have our own interests, our own concerns. We can accomplish a couple of things we've been working on for a long time if we're able to implement a 2-district solution. And what this means is that, or where this comes from, is that the city has been working since about 2013 towards developing an identifiable heart and core of the city, a downtown. We worked with it with a group of over 100 residents and volunteers, and I see some faces in the room who are involved in that, to help develop a strategic plan for where we wanted to be 20 years into the future. Almost everybody involved in that identified there's no downtown. If you want to meet downtown, where do you go? Is it El Paseo? Is it Highway 111? Where is it? So we've been working to develop the downtown identifiable district since 2013. We did it by addressing our general plan update, and what we identified was we have El Paseo, we have Highway 111, we have the Civic Center Park where we are now, which is a beautiful community amenity and is surrounded by cohesive neighborhoods and neighbors. We also have the McCallum Theater and College of the Desert and City Hall, all right in this area that are connected to the other areas, El Paseo and Highway 111 by San Pablo. And San Pablo would be the perfect city center. Through our strategic planning, we had identified that this is really a key corridor, and you can see, depending on how you drove or walked to get here tonight, that there's a lot of work going on in San Pablo. We have already, by the time the suit was filed, we had already embarked upon a project to create an integrated walkable neighborhood that would connect the resources we have at the Civic Center Park, at College of the Desert, with the San Pablo surrounding neighborhoods and communities, and with all the way down to Highway 111 in El Paseo. So that was underway, and we determined that what would be really useful is to use this process to have a two-district system, one that encompasses the heart of Palm Desert, and the other that encompasses the larger surrounding areas. So what we have identified is somewhere a city core that will have about 20% of the residents and that will have a single elected official, surrounded by the larger area that will have about 80% of the residents, and that will have 4 elected officials. It was also a goal to implement ranked choice voting. We'll talk more about that later. That was something that was very important to the plaintiffs in the case. And what you need to know at this point are 2 things. One is we'll go into that a whole lot more at future meetings because it is something that's new to us. And we understand that there will be a lot of education necessary and outreach to include the public so everybody knows going into the 2020 election how to vote most effectively to represent their own interests. And then let's go on to the next one. What we really saw is we've been able to create what we think is a win-win solution because with the plaintiffs, we helped make sure that we are embracing the CVRA, and it's not only the letter of the law, but the intent and the spirit of it, as well as our interest in embracing the creation of an identified specific downtown district. I have some notes here. Some of them have big words that David put in here that I don't even know what they mean, so I'm going to skip those. Afterwards, anybody who knows what balkanization is, please let me know. Okay, I do also want to say on the ranked choice voting, although it's new to us and new to the Coachella Valley, there are cities in the Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco, that have used it for a couple of decades, and it's now going to be used in New York City, so it's being used across the country. It's just new to us. Let's try the next one, please. Okay, this gives us a little bit of a schedule that lets you know what to anticipate going forward. We are partway down. We are on January 15th. This is our first public open house. All this information is available online, but what you need to know is that over the next couple months, you'll have plenty of opportunity for input and plenty of opportunity to get information. There will be 2 public forum meetings, at least, like this, where you'll be able to work in small groups to get information specific to the questions that you have and how you can have input. And there will be 4 public hearings that will be held in front of the City Council where you will be able to speak your opinion, or as with any public hearing in the City Council, you can write emails, calls, send letters, and all of that goes into the public record and will enable the City Council to be fully informed on the opinions and the input that our residents have to offer. And all of this leads up, of course, to November 3rd, where we'll have a general election. That is the first time at which we will implement the 2-district system. Excuse me. Could we have the next one, please? Okay, I want to give you a broad brush view of the maps. We're not going to talk about maps tonight other than this general introduction, and that is to show you Palm Desert. For those of you, some of us are steeped in looking at maps of the city every day, other people aren't as familiar. Let me just orient you generally, which is that we have Highway 111 going through here, Fred Waring Drive bisects. At this moment, we are right about in here. Portola, Cook Street are running north-south, and Palm Desert Country Club is over here. We have Bighorn and South Palm Desert in this area. What the colors indicate, and when you see the larger blow-up, you'll be able to tell, is the percentage of population that is Latino in the voting age population in Palm Desert. If it's purple like this, it means it's less than 25%. As you change into other colors, it means it's a greater percentage. What we're trying to do is make sure that we give representation to the city core in this area where we have others, where we have greater concentration of Latino voters. You can see that there's plenty of room for variation in how the district might be shaped and formed, but all of it generally encompasses San Pablo, that we've talked about how important that is, as well as the communities immediately surrounding, and some of the things like College of the Desert, City Hall, coming down here to some of the most important financial districts in Palm Desert. It will be in the best interest of all elected officials. The one person from the downtown district and the 4 from the surrounding district to protect the interests of this specific area, because it is so important to us financially, it is so rich in cultural resources, and it is the home of many of our city institutions. Okay, next slide, please, which I think is my last one. The question is, who decides on the districts? Who decides what they will be? Good, bad, or indifferent, it is the members of the city council. This is not something that goes to a vote of the public, and we do get a lot of confusion or questions about that. It turns out when there have been initiatives in the past in other cities or communities to try to have the voters decide the boundaries, those have not been upheld in court. So it does need to be done by the members of the city council, whose representatives and bright and shiny faces you see right there in front of you. Ultimately, after the public hearings, they will be the ones to vote on the boundaries. However, they need your input. They need to know where you think it's important to not divide up portions of the community, and where exactly you think it should be constructed to create the interest center for the downtown district that best represents unified, cohesive communities and the interests of the city. So they'll be looking through this public input phase of the process to get input from the city residents, from the city voters, to know how exactly this should be shaped. You will have your opportunity to put input going forward, and then that will help the city council inform the decision that they ultimately made. The decision will also have to be approved by the 2 plaintiffs in the lawsuit. That was part of the terms of settlement. So we'll be going through that process and consulting with them as we go in further. Future meetings, we'll talk more about how the districts will be shaped and how you can input and help create each individual space. With that, I would like to turn this back over to Sylvia, who's going to talk us through the next phase, where we break out into smaller groups and work with people at our tables.
Thank you, Lori. All right, so again, as we break out into the group discussions, it's the city of Palm Desert is really trying to get your input from right now moving forward to how the other meetings are going to take place. So in order to do that, we all need to understand what is important for you. So you've heard information, how we got here, what what's going to happen. And now it's in the small group conversations, you each have a facilitator, and they'll be leading you through questions, a series of questions, or facilitating a conversation to try to get information that would help the city move on, what they have to do in their next steps, in the next meetings, right? Again, we know that there might be some questions that are still burning. Use the notepads and put them in the parking lot. After the group conversations, there will be a report out. And Lori's here, she'll be a floater looking at, what's happening, what's bubbling up, looking at what's happening in the parking lot. And during the report back session, she might also be able to generally answer if there's like a common concern, common topic that's coming up. But there will be future meetings, so don't think that if it doesn't get answered today, it won't get answered. You have a survey at your table. And if you want to continue receiving information, make sure that you gave us all your contact information at the registration table. With that, the facilitators have the questions. They'll be here, and our community agreements still apply. So we have about 35 minutes for the discussion in the groups. So I do understand some people are ready to leave, so we're gonna switch the order. We wanted really to hear from all of you, but as long as there's people from your group that can represent your voices, we'll get to that. And first, we're gonna have Lori answer some of the questions that are in the parking lot.
Alrighty, I've taken a look through your questions. Most of them I can answer for you tonight. One or two I will need a little bit more help on. So let's see what we have. Why rank order voting? This is something that was insisted upon by the plaintiffs. It was not the city's first choice, it was not the city's idea, but the plaintiffs, this was a sticking point for them. They said it was important for them and they needed to have it incorporated. What is the website address for more information? It is www.representpd.org. You can also get it to it through the city's website, which is cityofpalmdesert.org, and there's a link there, but it's representpd.org. Okay, tell us what it will fix. What it will fix is it avoids a lengthy and very expensive court battle, which according to all legal advice we get, the city would not prevail in. Nobody yet has successfully, no city yet in California has successfully challenged the CVRA and won and prevailed in court. This includes cities that have spent over $10 million fighting it, and they still don't win. So that's the long and short of that. Let's see. Must council members live in their district? Yes, they must. You must be elected from your own district, and you must live in it. Same question, do the council members need to live in their district? Yes, they do. We had a related question which said, never mind, I'll keep going and see where they are. How did they determine the new district? The new district has not been determined. The map that I showed generally shows areas of concentration of minority residents, but it does not identify where the new district will be. That's what we're having the open houses for. That's what the public hearings will be for, is to have you help shape what those districts will actually look like, where the boundaries will go. So the districts have been named, identified only very generally as somewhere in the core and the surrounding areas. The actual boundaries will be determined through this process. What if no one from the district runs? That's always a possibility. If there were nobody who were going to run from a particular district, and this would be whether it's the internal district, the downtown district, or the outer district, according to our city attorney, I believe that we might have to look into this a little bit further, but it is likely that if there were no candidates, somebody could be appointed by the city council. We can look into that a little bit more. Bob is indicating. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. If I live in the downtown district, and by the way, people, penmanship, please, penmanship. If I live in, it has nothing to do with my aged eyes. If I live in the downtown district, do I only vote for the one downtown district, or can I vote for the people in the other 4 candidates in the other district? The answer is you only get to vote in your own district for the representatives of your own district. If you're in the downtown district, you vote for one. You don't vote for anybody in the surrounding district. If you're in the surrounding district, you only vote for the 4 in your district. You don't get to vote for the 1 that will represent the downtown district. Okay, we had a question about money. Where did it go? How much is this going to cost? Just changing the software, purchasing new software for the ranked choice voting, we have estimates of $350,000, and the city has identified that we have that money available. We can pay up to that. As far as the education and outreach so that everybody understands what we're doing, we don't have a firm cost on that yet. We'll see how much interest there is, how much confusion, what it takes to get the message out to everybody to make sure that they know how to vote to maximize their interests. I'm guessing, all told, that's probably somewhere less than 100,000, but that's a little bit of a wild guess on my part at this point. Is district residence required in the district in order to be on the council? Yes, you have to be a resident of a district in order to be elected there. Will this become a we versus them? The answer is no. That's the beauty of what we have proposed, is that it is in the interest of everybody, all 5 council members, the entire city, to protect and invest in and work on the downtown district because of the cultural resources there and the financial implications and impact of that area on the rest of the city. So everybody works together on the core. 4 of the 5 work together on the areas outside of the core. What will this cost? How will districts affect accountability to the city council? That's one of the other things that we preserved doing this that we were very concerned about. As it is now, if you vote, if there's somebody who you don't think is doing a good job on the city council, you get to vote them out of office. Doesn't matter what district they're in. That's what happens when you have at-large voting. This way, we have at least 4 individuals, council members, who will be in the exterior district, and each of them are going to be accountable to everybody who votes for them. The 1 representative from the downtown district is responsible to everybody in the downtown district. I see somebody's holding up a card telling me wrap-up time. Do you want me to finish these last 4, or are we? Oh, there's even more. I'm going to see, because you've all taken time to come here tonight and have your questions answered, I'm going to see if I can do that. Why 2 districts, not 5? Why is the issue only about the Latino population? In Palm Desert, there is only 1 protected minority class that is represented in numbers that register really on our demographics, and those are Latinos. And the idea is that in order to protect the interest of the Latinos, of the minority class, you need to protect them in a district. If they were spread across the entire city, then it would be a different matter. But you look where the concentrated areas are. In our city, there's distribution of all minorities, not just Latinos, generally across the city, but 1 area where there is concentration. Therefore, the city, for the reasons I talked about earlier, thought that it would be best for the integrity and the unity of the city to work together in 2 districts, 1 focused on downtown and the surrounding area, also focused on downtown because of its importance to the rest of the city, but representing the areas where they don't have the concentration. There are not enough Latinos to be able to influence votes or to be blocked from influencing the outcome of votes if that was an issue. Redevelopment was broken into zones and worked. Why don't multiple districts work? Redevelopment was kind of a horse of a different color. That was a funding mechanism that was developed based upon property values and assessments to individual individual property owners, and it was a mechanism for generating revenue that could be put back into the district. It really didn't have, other than the word district, it really didn't have anything in common with what we're addressing here, which is how does a group of people in a protected class make sure that their interests are represented and they are able to be elected to and influence the outcome of elections in their own community. What data is used to create maps? Ooh, good question. That leads into our next meetings. We have a demographer who has worked on districting across the state with more than 100 different cities and organizations who will be providing us with detailed information that will help you, if you choose to engage with identifying and drawing the districts, the district boundaries. It's mostly all census data information that is available to the public. When did the lawsuit get filed? It was in June of 2019, so June of last year. Why not invite Palm Springs to share their experience? We are absolutely communicating with other cities, not just locally, but in other places, to identify what they did that they think went right and what didn't go right. I belong to a couple of different organizations of city managers from across the state and across the country, and when we get together, you know what we talk about? Districting. How did that work for you? How did that not work for you? It's an ongoing field of inquiry for all of our staff members, and we do look at this regularly. We will be consulting with cities that we haven't talked with previously as we go through this. How much was the plaintiff attorney paid? Bob, how much was the plaintiff attorney paid?
They are entitled to recover their expenses. We haven't had that negotiation yet.
Stay tuned. What happens after the census? Excellent question, excellent. What happens is we have new demographics, and you have to go back and visit the boundaries and make any changes or adjustments to them to reflect changes in the demographics. We had originally thought, can't we put this off until we have our 2020 census data? And the answer is no. We need to move ahead before that. So we will be looking at a couple years at new data that may or may not require us to go back and adjust boundaries, same as every other city in the state will be looking at. Will this be revisited after 1, 2, or 5 years to see its effectiveness? I don't know. First of all, we'll have to think about this one. First of all, I'm not sure how you measure effectiveness for an issue like this. Secondly, we have to think about what we would do with that information if we had it, because we don't, under current California law, we don't have the opportunity to go back to at-large voting if this doesn't prove to be effective. That being said, state law changes regularly, and there's no telling what may change in the future. What are the minimum requirements of law? Oh, I guess I saw this. I don't know who wrote this question, but I'm not able to, I don't understand the question well enough to be able to answer it. If somebody, whoever wrote this one, what are the minimum requirements of the law, wants to come talk to me afterwards, or talk to our city attorney, Bob Hargraves, or talk to one of the representatives, we'll see if we can answer that for you. And finally, representation. 5 districts. Where do existing council members live? Will the new council members live in their district? Let's start in reverse order. Yes, the new council members will live in their district. They'll be required to be elected from the district in which they live. Where do existing council members live? We have council members generally in the southern half of the city. If I had to pick a defining area, they are not concentrated all in one neighborhood, but nor are they dispersed all across the community. So that is something that state law allows you to take into consideration in forming the boundaries where the existing council members live. It is something that to date none of our council members have expressed an interest in pursuing or revising or suggesting boundaries to protect where they live. So that is something that I believe, Bob, is that public information? Yes, Rochelle's indicating. So that is information that would be available for you. I don't know. I haven't been to all the council members' houses, so I can just tell you that that information will be available to you. They're generally in the southern half of the city and the end.
So Lori, if someone wants to know the answer to that, they can email the city and we'll make sure they get that response.
What David said, which reminds me, the one last thing I want to indicate, and that is where to turn for more information if you just want to read up or tell somebody else about it. We do have a website specifically for this issue. It's called representpd.org. You can also get to it through the city's, oh, there we go. You can also get to it through the city's website. Yes, Chrissy? Okay, thank you. I have not. Okay, the question was, what were the plaintiffs trying to fix in filing their suit? I haven't had direct conversation with them. I can't and don't speak on their behalf. We can only surmise and gather from their information that they felt that they were not afforded an opportunity for equal representation through the at-large district voting.
Thank you, Lori. And we're like 2.5 minutes away from the time we're supposed to end. We haven't heard from you. We have all your notes. So I have an option for you. If you all have to leave right now and that's your preferred option, we want to be mindful of your time, but we were walking around, it seemed you were engaged in very fruitful conversation around the questions, and it is important for the city to hear this, for us to hear this. So we'll allow people who want and have to leave at this point, they can do that to be mindful of the time, and any of you who have at least, well, there's 12 tables, so if we do it in 1 minute per table, 12 minutes, I'll be ambitious, just so that we can hear from you. And we have the notes, and there's been a city representative at each table, so know that your information will still be informing the city. So thank you. So we are going to be hearing back from all the tables that are still here. You know, what's important for you. David has a microphone. There are cameras here recording. It's important that you speak to the mic so that your valuable input is heard. So we will start. See, we always tend to start from the front, so we're going to start at the back.
My name is Michael Meyer. I've been a resident here for 29 years. Our discussion here seems to center around if you have a lawsuit. We have to answer a lawsuit. Let's answer the lawsuit by forming that district. The district can be defined by Monterey, by Portola, by 111, by Fred Waring. That's basically the area we're talking about. Why must we go ahead and add the town district, quote unquote, to it? Being our economic base for this area, why are we including that in the lawsuit when it wasn't asked for? So you're asking for more. You're giving more than what was asked for. You cited, and here again, living here 29 years, I've seen, changes, I've seen how important the mall was at one time for the economic development of this community. El Paseo is the same way. Why are we giving that away when we don't have to? Why not just answer the lawsuit, do what you're supposed to do, and go on? To combine the two does not make any sense, and that was the consensus basically at our table.
So most of my table left, but I will represent them fairly. Bill's still here. Oh, good. And Yasmin's here. Okay. I'm your proxy over here. I'll do my best. So just going through the kind of three questions in the order that they were raised. Number one, there was a general sentiment it was important to go to districts and ensure representation. Indeed, I would say several of the members here felt it was important to go to multiple districts, not just one. There were questions and concerns about generally on timing of the lawsuit and the process and why it may or may not have been delayed. And questions about, there was a concern expressed that by creating a single donut district, it actually quote-unquote fences in a population into a single district, and a different perspective from an individual at our table expressed about that. There was also some concern generally expressed about whether or not it sufficiently represents that ethnic group, or if there are other ethnic groups that need to be represented or other cohorts in the community. I think Lori, spoke to that a little bit with some of her answers about the legal threshold for representation. There was also a concern that incumbents are protected by at-large districts, and that at-large districts also require more money to win because they're bigger. So what impact might that have? And another person at the table was very emphatic on using the term that the city tended to ghettoize an area and creating this one particular donut hole in the middle of the city. And then last but not least, on the final question 3 that was asked of us, the general sentiment was this meeting is nice, it's well done, but there's a concern that this solution is mostly baked in because of the lawsuit. So there were just some concerns and questions about how much the meeting was going to move as we go through the process, and we had a healthy discussion about moving some of those and what that root data is with the census data. And then last but not least, there was a concern expressed by an individual who was concerned that by not having at-large districts, council members would no longer be concerned about coming to his mobile home park and seeking their support. So if they happen to be in the one middle district, or say one of the outside districts, then they basically would be losing representation of people who would no longer be representing them in that particular mobile home park.
Radio test here. First question we have, how to get information. I believe that was covered pretty well. How does someone who is not in District 1 get equal representation compared to someone who is in District 1? Another one. How were the boundaries decided? What do the numbers mean? Another one. Happy with 2 districts and did not get broken into 5. Another thought. At what point do the plaintiffs get to be a part of the final decision? This is my thought. At what point, personally, and I don't know what's happening on the other side, but I'd be happy to have them right in the room with us tonight. So as we go through the boundaries and stuff, that we hear their side and they hear our side, and we don't get to march and find out, well, we're not on the same page here. So, as another person, as someone who lives in a larger district, I'm not sure who will represent me or understand my problems. Final, as a teacher in a Title I school, I hope I will see someone who will represent my students in District 1. That's all that this table has.
Thank you.
Thank you. These are the comments from this table. It's about time that we did something like this, but we have concerns. We believe every person should have a voice, or a chance to have a voice. The process should be fair and have equal representation. How is it equal for the donut hole to only get to vote for one representative, where the donut gets to vote for 4? That is not equal representation. And we should have a range of options presented to us by the council, not a fait accompli, which is what we're getting right now. And the council should do the hard work of creating 5 districts instead of 2. Thank you.
I will try to keep this short because a lot of our issues were covered by other people. But on this representation issue, we looked at it, or some of us did, in maybe a different way, not so much in voting, but in the actual operation of the city after this process goes on. There was some general concern about how well we were represented presently. And so in the case of the people who live in the Central District, they will have one official that they know that they elected and someone that they could contact if they had an issue. Where the people that live in the outside district will not have one, they will have 4, and so there's some negotiation. So that's just a concern and maybe just an issue could be passed on to the city council presently.
Thank you. And I want to appreciate that you recognize some of your comments were already shared and that you didn't share that. We're going to try to do this in the next 5 minutes, so help me out here. Maybe we can get out in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm just going to say that somehow we need to reach the minority population because most of the people that came to the meeting today were not minority. And I know you sent out, I got a postcard to my house, plus it was in the newsletter, it's on the news, but somehow we need to reach the minority.
The people that were in this group were kind of like all on the same page in that they don't want the status quo to be disrupted. They like the city, they like the way it's run, they like the leadership.
They don't see anything wrong with what was broken, so they didn't know what we're trying to fix, the city's purpose. They felt that the opportunity to be heard already exists. A good example they gave was a short-term rental. It went on for meetings and meetings, so they don't believe that people don't have the opportunity to be heard, but they are concerned with the 2 districts because they feel that will become a we versus they, and so they would prefer something like other cities, just do 5 districts.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy. Again, as a proxy, the folks left that were on my table, but a lot of the comments were already addressed. The main question is why 2 districts and not 5? That was the consensus.
Thank you. Right here.
Hi, my table had a couple of items that haven't been mentioned, and that was a concern over the fact that the single district has a big block of our businesses, these businesses, and it might create a resident versus business struggle with the representative for there. That was one that came up quite often. And also they were concerned that this may not actually create diversity on the city council, or the question was that will it create diversity on the city council, and hoping that there are strong candidates in both districts. I think that's pretty much it. One thing though that the table did say with the last question is how will you know that you're being heard? And that is for the city to continue to communicate with the people in this group and others between now and the next meeting, and also to give everyone a little bit better understanding of how they came to the 2-district process.
Okay, so pretty much everything is the same on here. The one thing that I will say is the report back. So what are the survey results and how is that going to get back to the people of the community? And just for me personally, my husband ran on this issue in this city. So I would like to applaud you all for making a step forward in the right direction, and I hope that you really listen to the citizens of this city and take all of that in stride as you move forward.
I wanted to add that suggestion that Charlie made, which was to potentially look into auditoriums in public schools to gauge the other audience in the second convening. Thank you.
Hi, I represent our table. A lot of the things I believe were already covered. A couple of things that haven't been covered yet is the concern about continued cooperation. It was very important to people at our table that there be continued cooperation, especially if this results in a new person being on the council. The other thing that people that were concerned about at our table was the ranked choice voting and whether it's too complicated. And since I couldn't explain it, they were concerned if we can't understand it, is it too complicated for us to do, but we don't have a choice. and making sure that this is something, and that the people that are involved continue to be involved in their local government. And I think we've covered everything, don't you? And again, to reiterate what Deborah's table said, keep the conversation going, keep the communication going with the community and the city. That's it.
Well, thank you, everybody. February 12th is the next meeting where we will have the demographer and getting closer to what that process of the creation of the boundaries is going to be like. And maybe just food for thought as we close. There was a lot of information shared, but if you reflect about what's the one thing that brought you to Palm Desert, and just maybe for a different perspective, was it the way that the city council is elected? So some reflection, and thank you. Have a good night.